diet interviews. Actually, no, it's everyday HCG diet interviews with everyday people. You would think after saying that like 70 times that I would have it right, but apparently it's a lot of words for a title. So anyway, I have Heather with me today, and actually it's kind of like Heather number 2 as far as P3tolife interviews go. You're my second Heather, but she's going to share a little bit about her hCG journey because it's kind of unique, and she's lost quite a bit of weight with the protocol. And then what's really exciting is she transitioned from that into the P3tolife program, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a structured program for phase 3 that I developed, and you can learn more about it at P3tolife.com. But she transitioned into that, and so she's, well, you'll find out how things have gone for her, so I'm not going to tell you right now. So anyway, welcome, Heather.
Thank you. Great to finally meet you.
I know, you too. So some of her first emails that she sent me, you were just so enthusiastic, and that made me feel so good. You were like, oh my gosh, this is so yummy, or this is going so well, and that made me feel really good inside. So, but why don't we start with talking about, you know, just a little bit of your history with how you came to be overweight, where you ended up, and then your P2 journey.
Okay. Well, except for the past 20 years, which is a long time, but I grew up, you know, I've always been thin and healthy, and so I put on weight that I just wasn't getting rid of. And come April, my doctor wanted me to go on blood pressure medication. So that's really what started. It's like, no, I'm going to lose weight and do this. I don't need the pills, but she put me on them anyway. But then I started with a weight loss program and was off of those in 2.5 months. So I was happy about that.
That's amazing.
And I wish I would have found you earlier, but I went to this clinic. I did my hCG through the clinic, and they let us go, you know, you're followed by a doctor, and we do lab work and all of that to make sure what best would suit us. So it was a whole hormonal treatment thing, and then I added the hCG. And didn't have to take any breaks with that. So that got me started, and I saw that I could lose and just kept going. They didn't make you take breaks, so it's like I kept going, and my goal was to be at my goal weight. I set a goal of 90 pounds by Thanksgiving, and maintain by Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And so we just had Thanksgiving, and I was 6 weeks on maintenance, and met my goal, so I was really happy with that.
That's amazing. So, so when you mentioned that you didn't take breaks, basically you're saying that your clinic that you went through, they had you stay on hCG the whole time until you lost how many pounds?
Right, and I lost, it was 20, gosh, I think I went 23 weeks. And
23 weeks on hCG straight.
Yep, no breaks. But we do lab work like every other month.
Cool.
And so lost 87 before I started on maintenance. And
87 pounds.
87
wow.
pounds, yeah. So
I did a little math on that just for everyone. So she lost 87 pounds in 23 weeks, which is about 161 days that she was on the hCG diet, like straight through. And that averages out to about 0.54 pounds per day. So about ½ a pound per day average weight loss over the course. And I wanted to clarify for everyone out there, in fact, I'm going to link you guys to a blog post I wrote about this in the show note links, but it's all about like what's a normal amount of weight loss to expect on hCG. And I think it's important to address that because a lot of people sometimes think they're all going to lose a pound per day on the diet, and it's really actually not like scientifically even possible really to do that, like when it comes to losing fat. So like sometimes people will lose that much, but there won't be a lot of water weight involved, you know, things like that, or maybe they were very heavy or whatnot. So it just really depends. And the average amount of weight loss that women will lose on the diet is a ½ pound per day. So you had a normal average.
I was happy to stick with that average.
Yes,
and of course it started out faster. I was like, I tracked it all, wrote everything down, journaled everything I ate, and how much water I drank. But I started out probably like 3/4 of a pound a day. So I was really happy with that. And that's very motivating.
Yes.
But including, you know, as I slowed down in the end, it was still over ½ a pound
Yeah. Yeah, on your
average.
average, right. Yeah. Yeah, which means some days you might lose 1 or 2 pounds, and then some days you might lose like 0.2 or maybe even
Exactly.
0. I don't know, so yeah. Yeah, but that's normal.
And the gals there said the problem was they didn't usually see this much success, but people cheat on it. And it's like, so I didn't ever have any cheats. I
Good.
really was committed to starting this and
It's
following through. And so on my weekly weigh-ins, I didn't have any gains ever. You know, weighing every day, you go up and down every day.
Right.
But on a weekly basis, I was always coming down.
Gotcha.
So,
And that's a nice point that you mentioned that too, that kind of judging your progress more by your weekly weigh-in
right.
rather than possible daily fluctuations, you know. When you, so did you actually have occasional gains on a daily scale? Or some 0 days perhaps? Some Jose
Yeah,
days?
maybe some 0 day, more on the maintenance, I'd say.
Yeah.
It was more fluctuating, but pretty
Sure.
much on the hCG part, I was pretty much continually
That's
coming
great.
down, whether it was,
Nice.
0 or 0.1 and then might be a
Right.
pound, that fluctuated, but it was
Right.
pretty steady
Nice.
coming down, which was happy.
That's great. And it's
Nice.
nice to hear your experience too, being on it so continually, because I mean, really 23 weeks, what is that? Like, that's actually close to 6
May 1st,
months. That's like
I did my
5.
working days, the last days of April.
Yeah.
And May 1st, so I'll May, June, July, August, September, a full 5 months, and then my last injection weight was October 9th.
Gotcha. Yeah, so a good 5 months or so, a little over 5 months. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they did loading days like, I guess, normal. They started out, like you talk about. Although I didn't know about the clean loading, so I ate everything for 3 days.
Well, I mean, you only did that 3 days, and then you were on hCG for like 5 months. So, I mean, I'm sure
Right.
it's evened out.
Yeah. And I did start the skip days. Gosh,
Oh,
that
where you
was
skip an injection once a week
right.
or so? Okay.
Yeah. Which I learned from you, and I approached them with that, and they'd never heard of that. I don't know,
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to extend it as long as I could, and
Sure.
so that helped. And I
Great.
wasn't hungry on those days, so it kind of helped test my dosage and
Cool.
everything.
That's good.
And did fine with the skip days, so it's like, okay, we'll keep that up.
That's
And
great.
didn't affect weight loss or anything.
I'm curious, when you were on the hCG protocol, because you mentioned that this clinic you went to helped you get on a bunch of other like bioidentical things like
Right.
progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, DHEA, vitamin D3, Armour thyroid. Let's just mention that for everybody. Were you continuing on all those things during hCG or not?
Yep. And still am. When I quit the hCG, yep, I'm on like a 1-year program with them.
Gotcha.
And so I'm still on all of the medications. Also, some I've cut back to like every other day, like the DHEA.
Yeah.
And the vitamin D. I was taking a lot of vitamin D, so
Gotcha.
I was taking 2 a day. Now I just take 1 a day because I think they're 5,000 units or whatever.
I use or whatever.
So I am continuing on that, but it was
Great.
everything with the hCG.
Gotcha. Were any of those supplements or medications or whatever you were taking, were any of them like creams, or like the bioidenticals, are they creams or pills or?
Everything's pills except for the progesterone, or no, the progesterone's a pill. The estrogen testosterone combination is called a vanishing cream.
Okay.
It's a tiny little bit every day.
Gotcha. No, I'd like to hear this because I actually get this type of question sometimes from women, like, oh, can I keep taking that? And of course, I would never give medical advice. Like, I have no idea, honestly. Like, I'm not qualified to tell you that. But people wonder if it will interfere with their weight loss, or if a cream having like oil in it will interfere. But obviously for you, it was fine. So.
Right. And it's such a tiny, tiny little bit that you rub on your skin. But other than that, no oils or things on my skin. But
and who knows? I mean, maybe that helped you with.
I think it did help because you talk about the adrenal fatigue, and I think I was so supported by everything else that it didn't cause any problems. So I think it probably helped support me in losing weight so fast.
Was the clinic you went to, was that local? Must have been local, I guess. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like you guys, not every clinic is as well informed about the hCG protocol and these types of things, but if you can find one that like with Heather, who can address these other side issues, like thyroid, for instance. It's like they put you on armor, like smart, like, you know, like they obviously know some stuff in the bioidenticals, and that can really help because hCG is not a fix-all for everything. We have to like balance out our other hormones too. And so sometimes it is advantageous to try to find a clinic like that. You know, like in your case, sounds like it was really good. So.
And they used to do just weight loss, and now they do the whole just healthy, you know, you kind of have to join up and do the doctor visits and everything, and then you can add the hCG on. So they do it as a total hormonal balancing treatment.
That's good. Well, they're probably realizing just how important all those aspects are, you know, to the whole thing. So now when you were doing this, did you also take any like lipo or B12 shots while you were on hCG?
They do give you, with the program, you get what they call as a buckshot, and it has, and I think what I wrote to you, I didn't think it had B12 in it, but I confirmed that it does. It's B12 plus all the other Bs.
Okay.
Plus.
And then the lipo ingredients with they're like methionine, inositol, choline, L-carnitine.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. So I get and you can take them, you get 12 of them to use in your year membership. So I've been taking one a month. You can take them
so just once a month. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Very good. So you ended up losing almost 90 pounds on hCG in that time.
Right.
All at once. So you said you started at what weight, and then where did you end when you finished P2?
I was at 236.2 actually, all-time high, which was really awful. And then I ended at gotta look, it's 87 pounds. It was 149.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just under the 150. It's like, oh, I wanted some wiggle room. I wanted to be lower than that to, you know, in case I gained weight.
Yeah.
But I got under the 150 mark.
That's great. So 236 to 149. I mean, you guys, that's crazy. And then for you, basically one round since you were on it for 5 months. But still, to think that like in whatever that was, May 1st, you were 236 pounds, and then October, whatever, you were 149 pounds.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it just kind of kept melting off. I was pretty happy. So it's like, that's so motivating because you just keep, it's like, no way, even if you wanted to cheat, which I didn't. I really wasn't hungry.
That's great.
I really, you know, you say people get hungry on it, and I really wasn't hungry. So I don't remember wanting to cheat. Even if I did, it's like, no, I don't want to ruin these results as long as they keep happening.
Right.
It's encouraging.
It's true, and I think sometimes it's like when people hit a stall now and then is kind of when mentally you do kind of start the cheating option becomes more tempting because you're like, why am I even doing this when you have a, you know, which, you know, on hCG sometimes a few 0 days is like in real life like a month because it feels, you know, like you said, when you're waking up and seeing that consistent half-pound loss or so, then it's like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And then a few days of not having that, you're like, what's going on? But it is normal is the thing. So it is something you have to attune your brains to. But speaking of not being hungry on hCG though, that is usually hugely dependent on dosage. For you guys out there, like if any of you are on hCG and you're dealing with hunger, see my post on that. It'll be in the show notes. It's hcgchica.com/dosage. It's very detailed. But I'd love to hear from you what injection dosage ended up being good for you that caused that non-hunger for you.
They put everyone on either 20, like 2 units, or 30, which I figured and did the math. I think it was comparable to 220.
220 IUs?
IUs.
Okay.
And then as I went along and started skipping doses, knowing that, you know, I wasn't hungry when I skipped one, I played around with it and just injected a little bit less.
Yeah.
And ended up at the end probably being around 175.
Interesting. Okay, so 175 IU towards the end. Gotcha. Great. Yeah. That's great to hear.
They also do that handheld.
The body fat monitor thing?
Body fat monitor. So we monitor that every week as well. And I ended up getting a scale that tells me what my fat percentage is.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It was nice to see that coming down because I didn't want to just be losing muscle weight or something.
Right. Yeah,
But I
can you
felt so
tell
good.
us
I felt
that?
strong.
Yeah. How did your
I think
fat percentage change?
that percentage went from when I started, it was 45.3% fat.
Percent fat, okay.
And when I ended, ended the phase 2, it was 28.6.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I was just thinking,
Yeah.
I pulled my calculator out real quick because I was thinking, so say you're 236 pounds times 45.3%, that means that, if that were true, then that means basically that 106 pounds of you was fat when you started, of your total weight.
Right.
Sorry.
Not awful.
Just sometimes we hear percentages and we're like, so I'm this percent fat or this percent muscle, like I don't even know what that means. So just to put it that in like a logical, so yeah, 236 pounds total. So if 45% fat, then 106 of those pounds at that point was fat. And then being at say 149 now times 28.6%, now only 42 pounds about of you is fat. That's it. That's amazing.
A nice change, yeah, and I've come down from there. So
yeah, we'll talk more about that soon. Yeah. So and that's 106 to 42 pounds of fat, you guys. I mean, that's like over 60 pounds of fat that you lost. That's crazy, because you probably lost some water and stuff too, because when you weigh more, you just carry more water weight. So it's not that it's, sometimes we talk about it in terms of like, well, that's not real weight loss, but it is still real weight loss because you got to get rid of that water. If you're hanging
on to too much water, that's not good either.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So that's still part of it and still valuable, but just to know that much fat is gone from your body, just like how much that's going to affect your health in a good way, like long term.
Yeah. Getting off blood pressure meds for, in 2.5 months. Actually, in like a month and a half, I cut it down to half my dose.
Wow.
And then gradually got off of it. So that made me feel really good too.
That's fantastic.
I don't want to be on those, getting older. It's like, no, I'm not going to start all those medications.
I know. It's funny. This is slightly off topic, but my grandma, she's she's getting up there. I think she might be like 87 or 88 now, and she, even though she's getting a little dementia now, she is so like physically healthy. She takes no medications whatsoever. She can still like sit on the ground like Indian style and like has all this energy. Yeah, and I'm like, wow, like at her age to be like completely medication free. It would be nice for more of us to be able to do that, So that's
my goal was to start riding again. I've always loved horses. My daughter rides, and so I was able to do that. They were a little hesitant because, you're not supposed to exercise strenuously on
P2. Gotcha.
But towards the end, it's like the opportunity came up, and it's like, so I just increased my calories a little bit, and it worked. So
that's great. Yeah, I know. I could totally see that. Like, how could you help yourself if you? So were you actually not really able to ride for a while because of your weight, or?
Oh, I didn't feel I was, and I had some arthritis in my back, and so that's why I quit riding and put weight on. One of the reasons, and so to get back to it again, I didn't feel. It takes a lot of strength and muscle and balance and being that heavy. Yeah. I just wasn't comfortable even getting on a horse,
Right. You're actually not the first lady that I've interviewed who got back to horseback riding after P2 weight loss. Yeah. That's pretty neat. And so now, how often are you getting to ride horses now after all your weight loss?
Well, this guy he's big. He's on a fitness program as well. So I try to ride 4 or 5 times a week.
Awesome.
Yeah. And they're hour and a half rides.
That's fantastic.
So I can eat a lot and and still lose.
That is awesome. That's great. Cool. So speaking of then the calories, why don't we talk about that for a minute? When you were on P2, what was your calorie intake? Like, kind of what protocol did you follow on P2?
Well, they wanted me to follow, they said at least 800 calories. Okay. And so I started out 800 and was like losing a lot, and some days it's like, oh, I can eat more. Okay, I probably hit 900 maybe a couple days.
Yeah.
But then I started reading, I wanted to keep this going, and I read the Dr.
The original protocol. Yeah,
the
Dr.
original
Simeon's.
protocol.
Yeah.
Yep. And so tried to stick to 500. They didn't like that much.
Yeah.
So now you have to eat more, eat more, eat more.
Yeah.
And so I probably averaged between, I wrote everything down. So there was some days I just wasn't hungry, and I probably only had 450 calories.
Sure.
And then other days I'd go up to about 650.
Gotcha.
So right in, I tried to stick to the 500.
Gotcha. Well, it's neat to see.
Probably when I started riding, I probably did increase it to more like 600 to 700.
Just to make sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good. That's great. Yeah, and it's good to hear that too, because there are those varieties of protocols out there with different caloric intakes. Mm-hmm. And it does show that you can lose weight at those various levels. And it kind of just depends, I think, on your body and what ends up feeling best. I think when you're heavier, you can get away with more calories and still have significant weight loss. Sometimes I think as you get lighter, it might be harder to lose as much maybe on the 800 or 900 versus 500. But then actually as you get leaner and get close to goals, sometimes you have to actually take the calories back up or your body starts stalling.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, just kind of tuning it in like that. So
right.
When it comes to actual like P2 like foods that you ate, I'm curious. I don't know if you know the difference between like the original Simeon's protocol and what the clinic gave you, but do you happen to know like if you had any like supposed off protocol foods?
I don't think they gave me anything on their list that was off protocol. It was pretty strict, and I didn't add any, and even like the green beans or the adding broccoli early, anything like that. I pretty much did the chicken. I started out with canned tuna. I even cut that out just because it was canned. So I did, more natural foods. Tomatoes, onions, lettuce. I did do the fruit, so I did the strawberry, oranges, grapefruits, and apples.
Cool.
It seemed pretty close to what I think it was the original. The
original. Sounds like it. Yeah. Gotcha. Well, cool.
Just more of it. They wanted you to eat just more of it to get more calories.
Right. For getting the extra calories, I'm curious, what was increased? Was it like a little bit of everything, or did you still have the 200-gram portions of meat and then more vegetables? Or
I'd say I probably always had more than the 200 grams of meat.
Gotcha.
I was pretty generous with that, especially to increase the calories.
Sure. Do you know how much?
Tomatoes, they're higher calorie, so I ate a lot of that.
A lot of what?
A lot of the tomatoes and onions.
Yes.
I get more calories from that than, lettuce and.
Gotcha, yeah. Did you mix your P2 vegetables? Like, would you have tomatoes and onions together, or did you not?
For a while I didn't. At the end I did.
Yeah.
I'd
and that was still okay?
Yeah. Didn't notice any difference. And I felt more satisfied. So, it might just be romaine and tomatoes, and I didn't do a lot of mixing. There's not a whole lot of foods to mix, but I did start having more than just, one vegetable with each meal. So in that way, I supplemented a little bit, I guess.
Sure. But it sounds like that was fine. And that's another common question I get is if you can mix vegetables, since Dr. Simeon said not to. And also, I'll link you guys to a post I have in the show notes again about mixing vegetables and what to keep in mind if you do it. And I mixed vegetables. I found that it was fine. But just there are some factors to keep in mind with it. So, but yeah, so it's good to hear your experience with that too. Very good. That's really good to hear. Oh, and just for, I didn't ask this earlier, just for basic background on you, what's your age and height?
I'm 57 and about 5'8".
Gotcha. And how did your size change in your clothing from?
It went from about an 18, tight 18, to I can get into some 4s. It depends on the brand, but I'm buying 4s and 6s.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know. And they're like, my breeches, I was so happy I started riding because my breeches fit again. And I've had to get new ones because they're too big.
Wow, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Yeah. So how long do you think it's been, like, since you've been this small of a size?
Well, that's another really nice thing about this hCG program is it really, you hear about how it reshapes you. And I've lost in different, when I gain weight, I kind of gain it all over. You know, my arms, everything gets fat.
Gotcha.
And so I did lose it all over, but I lost it differently. You know, I was always thin growing up. And say, you know, 20 years ago when I got married, I was probably 15 pounds lighter. Well, maybe not that much when I got married, but 10 to 15 pounds lighter.
Okay.
But I was more like in an 8.
Really?
And now I'm heavier, but I'm in a 4 and a 6. So
wow.
I feel thinner. It's just different. I feel thinner, leaner than I did just being skinny before.
That's so neat to hear. And you know, what this means is, you guys, to translate this a little more, I've talked about this on a couple interviews, is that, because you're like, well, how does that work? How can you be like way less but be a bigger physical size, and then way more would be a smaller physical size later? Like, to me, the only logical explanation for that is that you're of the total weight loss that you're having on this particular protocol, so much more of it is fat than muscle. Like the ratio, you still lose some muscle, but the ratio of fat loss is much higher than like with other diets. And meaning that you're conserving more of your lean muscle mass, you know, that you probably built up riding horses over the years, you know. And so, because I had the same experience when I was in my early 20s and I was thinner, I weighed less to be a small size, and now I'm the same way. I weigh more, but I'm still this small size because of having more muscle for my body. And that's you know, hCG allows your body to hold on to that muscle that you've built throughout your life.
It really does.
Yeah, because you're not the first person to say that. So, which is awesome. Which is great, because part of having like a healthy metabolism long term and being able to eat at a calorie level that feels satisfying for maintaining is having like enough muscle on your body. And I think that's one reason that sometimes people really struggle at the end of a diet, is because if they've lost so much muscle, their body wants to gain that back, and your metabolism is slowed down, and like, you know what I mean? It just affects all those things. So, yeah.
Definitely does. And I feel strong. You know, I feel, it's not like I've been on a diet and I'm weak, and, you know, because I've been on a bunch of diets before, and it's like, that's how you end up feeling.
Is that, so you noticed a difference between other diets?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
and you probably were eating more calories on other diets too, right?
Yeah.
But
never that low.
Wow. That's cool.
But the hormonal balance, and then the hCG, just how it works, it's amazing, because it really, you know, I felt good through the whole process.
I love hearing all that. Yeah, I get, you know, I've been around this whole hCG, you know, world for so long now that sometimes I just take it for granted, and I assume everyone knows this, but I'm thinking, you know, listening out there, it might be somebody, you might be new or still considering the protocol, and it's neat to hear you share that, because it is, hCG is not a placebo. Like, you know, it's not just a little thing of water that's just pretend and it's all in your head. Like, it really is changing how your body interacts with food, and changing how your weight loss takes place. So
and such a tiny bit of it, it's amazing, but it's like, it's working.
It's true. Sometimes I'll get an email like, is something wrong? Like, I don't think this is like, there's almost nothing in the, like, yep, it's a tiny little shot. There's hardly any liquid. That's how it's supposed to be. Yep. Well, that's good. Thank you for all that. I think that kind of covers all of your, you know, your P2 journey. Why don't we move into P3tolife then? So you finished phase 2, and again, this was kind of unique because you were on hCG for like over 5 months straight with no breaks, which normally I might feel a little myself nervous about, you know. But so what instructions did the clinic you went to give you for P3? Like, what instructions were they giving you?
Basically that was sounding scary, because I felt ready to move on, because my weight loss was slowing, and I thought, well, it's been a really long time. I'm close enough to my goal that, you know, they said you'll keep losing a little bit.
Yeah.
But they wanted me to stay at 5 net carbs
5 net carbs per day.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you really have to start exercising and bumping your calories to 1,200.
So calories 1,200, and then what foods were they telling you to eat?
They had a free list of like free carbs. So it wasn't, basically we weren't in that 5 carbs, you didn't have to count your broccoli and tomatoes and vegetables. That didn't affect your
gotcha.
sugar levels.
Okay, gotcha.
But to figure all of that out, it seemed complicated.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah, you have to do a lot of legwork, yeah.
yeah. So, but it was adding broccoli and turkey, pork, yogurt, things like that, but it wasn't any structure really to it, to how to add things back in.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
That's where I had already gotten the P3tolife.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I even showed them the recipes. It's like, well, I want to follow this because it's really structured. They said, oh, you better wait till maintenance.
Yeah.
Next step to do that.
Yeah.
But on a couple occasions, I went rogue with their instructions, like the skip days.
Yeah.
And they said, you're a real guinea pig on this, but let's see how it works.
Good.
And so I also did I haven't been counting carbs. I just did the P3tolife. And that's, that was up to starting at 25 to 30 net carbs. And
yeah, actually I wrote down week 1, the net carbs, there's an average, but averaged over the week, it's actually 35 to 55 grams of net carbs, but it's from vegetables. So like, how they had a list of free carbs. I mean, we were basically using those and I just counted them up and, so.
Right.
Yeah.
You did all the counting for me.
Yeah, that was
because I was really tired of counting all the calories and everything on P2.
And I think, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think we kind of understand that in P2 that eating is going to be pretty boring and that we're not going to get too culinary or creative, because that's the point. The point's weight loss. We're not too worried about food. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of fine. But then, when you get to P3, it's kind of do I really want to have chicken and some salt and cucumbers on some lettuce? Is that really what I feel like doing?
I just really didn't feel like doing that for 3 to 6 more weeks. So
I'm done.
Yeah, it's I don't know if I can do that. And so I wanted to. I was still waiting for my weigh-ins, but I cheated a little bit in that way. And it's I was secretly following P3tolife because it was just yummier.
Good. That was the point too. It was supposed to be yummy, because I know. I mean, I've been on it too, and I'm we're done. We're done with P2 type of eating. Let's move on to something else, as long as it works, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I didn't want to gain everything back, and they said, their way of doing it, but I wanted to try it.
Cool.
And if I started gaining, okay, I'll go back to the boring way, but
readjust,
I continued to lose. In fact, people were at work. It's okay, you've lost enough. it's really, I'm in maintenance right now. I'm trying to maintain. I'm not trying to lose anymore.
Yeah.
But,
that's funny.
Over that 6 weeks, I lost 10 pounds. So.
Wow.
And I was eating a lot. I'd eat more than one serving on many occasions of the recipes.
And this was on P3tolife during that 6 weeks. Okay. And you actually lost weight.
Yes.
Wow. So what was your weight loss then? You went from
140. I lost 10 pounds in that 6 weeks.
What?
Yep. So, because I had lost 87. And the other day, I reached 97
Wow.
pounds.
Did you hear that, you guys?
do I want to go for the extra 3 just to hit 100?
Oh, I know, just for the sake of it.
If it happens, it happens. But, I'm not trying to lose, And another thing that P2 and hCG taught me, and reading all the reference books, was the learning to eat to hunger.
Good.
Because I wasn't just eating just because it's time to eat. It's I really try and listen and say, if I'm hungry, that's when I'll have this meal. Good. And then when I'm full, if I ate that whole recipe portion and was still hungry, I would, have more, especially towards the first 3 weeks, I followed it pretty strictly. Yeah. But then in the next 3, I might start adding a have a chia pudding in the fridge. If I was still hungry, I could have that.
Perfect.
Or, have a salad along with the meal.
Cool.
Add a few more, just for a little extra.
That's great. I had actually a quick question for you. Your thyroid, your T3 Armor, would you mind sharing like what dosage they have that you currently take? How many grains? Do you know?
But I can grab the bottle really fast.
Yeah, would you mind? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Just because while she's getting that, you guys, thyroid is a big thing when it comes to both weight loss and maintaining your weight loss. So I kind of was feeling like this is probably also kind of an important aspect of her doing so well on the protocol, is having your thyroid functioning well, or if it's not functioning well, having outside help. I take thyroid medication myself as well. And I really do feel that that is an important thing to address if you find yourself in the boat where you're like doing everything right, but you're not stabilizing, afterwards, even if you're really like, actually, I really haven't had people gaining weight on P3tolife at all, but say that happened or something, that would be something to look into. So anyway, go ahead, you're back.
So yes, it is the Armor Thyroid, the T3, T4. And it's 60 milligrams.
60 milligrams. Okay, we'll just put that in the show notes just for other people. I just think it's neat to hear, because I do think that probably, because it's just neat to hear that you lost weight even on P3tolife, and yet you were satiated and eating the meals. And that's pretty significant too, like 10 pounds in 6 weeks.
Yeah, I know. And
for not being on hCG,
Oh, I know. So,
that's great.
Yeah, I just feel like I mean, this is how I used to be. I used to be thin and be able to eat and was active, grew up on a farm. And so it's like being heavy was just not right.
It's not you. Yeah.
So it's like, and I hadn't seen a lot of family for Thanksgiving. And I feel so normal now. It's like you forget when you're that heavy. It's like, will they even notice? Because this is like the normal me.
You're used to it already. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely used to it already, and I like it a lot better.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's great.
And maybe I interrupted you on the Armor Thyroid. Maybe it was to do with that, but they do monitor this too, and they put me on this strength, and it's been good throughout the whole. They haven't had to change that.
Oh, great.
And part of their program it's called 25 again. So they don't just check normal levels, like for my age. They check optimal levels, like when you were 25.
It's so good to hear that they're on top of that, because so many practitioners, when they're checking lab testing, like you guys, if you've had your thyroid levels checked and you're like, oh, I already had that checked and they said it was normal, don't stop there. Like, get a copy of your lab tests, look at the numbers, because you can't go on that. Those tests are devised from like the values of all the sick people that are going in and having their lab testing done. So these are not ideal levels, and if you're anywhere in that normal range, they're going to be like, oh, you're fine, even if you're on the low end. Whereas most people feel good with their T3 levels, their thyroid hormone levels, on the high end of normal. So you have to research that yourself. And there's a really good website for that. It's called stopthethyroidmadness.com, and that will be in the show note links for you guys to research that. So it's just such an important aspect to even just feeling good, not even outside of weight loss, just having energy and feeling like you want to be alive, So
and making sure they check the different thyroid pieces, the T3, T4 versus just the TSH or something.
Yeah, that's
normal,
true.
but
a lot of them they're just checking your TSH, and that really tells you nothing. Yeah, so yeah, that's really good info. So speaking of. So you lost weight on P3tolife. Which plan did you follow, and how closely did you follow it? Because in the program, you guys, there's two versions. Basically, there's the original version, and then there's a simplified plan that kind of is like less recipes for less cooking, more batch cooking. So what did you end up doing?
I did the original.
Okay.
And did it very strictly how you have it laid out for the first 3 weeks.
Gotcha.
And then week 4, like I said, I mixed it up a little bit. Still made the meals as planned, but I might add the chia pudding or a salad or things like that, because I was still losing.
Yeah, right. You're like, hey, this is working.
Yeah, and I may not have had every smoothie. I love the
Sure.
smoothies.
Yeah.
But my problem was, it's like, well, I work evenings, and so if I was going to have that, it would have to be later, like after in the evenings.
Yeah.
And if I'm cold, I'd probably rather take a bath or have a cup of tea than have a cold.
Sure. You're like, too cold.
In the summer, those are going to be great because they're delicious and filling and a large amounts.
Yeah.
Big
At such low calories, right?
Yes, yes, amazing.
That's great.
So
Now,
other than that, I followed it. Yeah.
Oh, now with the serving sizes, since you did follow the original plan, but then there's of course certain serving sizes, and like you mentioned, you were trying to eat to hunger, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
I often tell people, they're like, I'm full. Do I need to eat the whole serving? Like, no, just stop when you feel satiated. So were you finding, like, did you actually eat the full serving, or did you eat less?
I never ate less.
So you actually ate the whole amount and then still lost that weight. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And did you feel hungry at all? Like, or how did you feel about like the portion sizes of the P3 meals?
Oh, they were wonderful. I mean, I just love to eat, and they were so yummy. So I would finish them, and I'd get a little bit more full maybe than I was supposed to. But
That's
you
great.
know, as long as I wasn't gaining, it's like, ooh, there's this too much food kind of thing. But I monitored my weight and was able to eat all of that. So I try to. I didn't really have to push back because I was too full.
Yeah.
But I felt satisfied because there was so much to eat. It wasn't this little tiny plate of, tomatoes and turkey and.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Very, very love the meals and love planning. I'd have my set date I'd go shopping on it. My start date was a Thursday.
Okay.
So every Wednesday I would go shopping for what I needed for the week. And if my husband travels a lot, so if he was home, I'd double it to include him on the meal. Or if the kids were home, they're teenagers and off working and all that. So I'd accommodate them. Otherwise, it was a lot of cooking just for me. So I would get what I needed and make those meals and, pre-make some if I had to, like the crock pot ones.
Sure.
For the next day, because I'd be, at work or riding in the mornings or whatever.
Yeah,
and
sure.
so it just worked really well time-wise to organize it.
That's great.
And I was just committed to doing that. That's what I'm going to do,
Yeah.
Got through P2, now I'm going to do P3 the right way.
Good.
I like it the right way, the okay way, and how not to do it. So
right.
I tried to pretty much as you laid out, and it was perfect.
Cool.
So.
That's good. How do you feel like, because you mentioned that following the program kind of maybe changed your relationship with like cooking a little bit, like, or how was that?
Most definitely, because you get used to grabbing. I work in a pharmacy at a grocery store, so it's really easy to grab the quick meals.
Yeah.
Or I had my favorite key lime pie or whatever I'd have when I got home, which was late night eating, and that was one of the first things I wanted to change was stop eating late at night.
Gotcha.
And stop the sugars and then start this diet. But it was very set up in a way that I could just follow it and get all my meals made. And instead of just grabbing something quick, I enjoy cooking. So to have these recipes, they were like gourmet recipes, and the spices and everything, learning how to mix and match. And there were things like, curry or eggplant, things that I didn't think I even liked.
Yeah.
And ended up loving those recipes.
Cool.
And so it felt very like this is a gourmet cooking class at the same time as it is maintaining my weight.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been really great. So
that's good. So it helped you, like, so do you feel more comfortable now with cooking with those ingredients so that it's more like kind of second nature than previously?
Absolutely. Yep.
Cool.
In fact, I'm in week 7. So I'm not following it strictly, but I feel like I can grab a recipe here and one there and just kind of put it together for myself and my family now. And they like it too. They like them.
So glad.
Yeah.
That's nice too, and other people too, because sometimes it's like we get, like women, we get used to the diet food taste, So we're like, well, this is fine, but then like other people, like normal people, they're like, this is gross, you know. So it's nice if the food you make can please everyone, you know. So they were good enough for people not on a diet to enjoy.
Absolutely. The flavors and just the richness of it, and they're really, really good recipes.
That's so good. I'm glad. And that's too, I'm so glad too what you mentioned about kind of basically kind of weaning yourself away from following the meal plan exactly, because that's really kind of the point of it too. I feel like that's why on the program you'll see I have various documents on there, and there's like the meal plan, but then we also have like a cookbook version where it's all the P3 recipes just in one document, like a cookbook. And the point is that you're gonna like naturally become familiar enough with like cooking and how to combine stuff and what ratios, so that then you can kind of just do your own maintenance thing and not necessarily be tied to a strict daily thing, you know. So.
And I was at first, you know, if it was an eighth of a teaspoon, it's like I was measuring everything really perfectly. But now, you know, you do learn to kind of judge. It's like, okay, a little bit of that and a little bit of that.
Right. Yes. Awesome. That's so good.
It's really, like you say, the cookbook will be great because you can decide what your day will look like and make the right choices by driving a healthy recipe.
And then, in fact, we're updating that cookbook version document because with a bunch of different table of contents. So we're going to have like, so to make it easier to choose a recipe, we're going to have like all the recipes listed by meat type, for instance, as one table of contents, like all the beef, chicken. And then we're going to have it listed by like, you know, recipes that are from the like, you know, 50 to 200 calorie range, and, you know, 200 to 400 calorie range. And, you know what I mean? So you can, so we're going to have multiple things like that. Yeah. Right.
Or, you know, what do I have? I have hamburger thought out tonight. What can I will make tonight?
Yes, that's a great idea. Yeah. Yes, so that'll be good. So you do work, and you mentioned that, because a lot of people want to know sometimes, since this does involve, you know, cooking all your meals, how do they fit it into their life? So you work in the evenings, and so you mentioned that you pre-make some meals, and then other meals you just kind of make the evening of, or... Is that
right? Usually I would, like the breakfast I could usually make that day, unless it was like the chia pudding that I do overnight.
Yeah.
And then I'd plan that ahead. And then I'd come home and make, you know, plan ahead what meat I had to have thought out. And then I'd ride in the mornings and come home and make my lunch. And then at the same time, before I go to work, I don't go to work till 4. So then I could get supper made for that evening to bring with me.
Gotcha.
And then the nice part is you've got the next day, lunch is already done.
Yes.
Because it's how it's set up, the dinner to the lunch.
Yes.
Leftovers. So that really helped.
Good.
Plan it.
That's great. Yeah, because even really in the original plan with more cooking, we're still eating leftovers for a lot of the meals at least once, because it's just, I think in this day and age, like you can't make every single meal from scratch, you know. It's just not going to work.
So that was really helpful. And I didn't do the simplified just because it's like, well, I want to be able to make that recipe, you know. I want to taste all of them.
It's
so
true,
in fact now, up to week 7, I've been making every single recipe, but now I'm anxious to go back and repeat, you know, my favorite.
Good. So that's great.
That's
awesome.
And I've already made some, like the Napa salad, chicken salad. I've already made some in week 7, but it's not as structured. You know, I pick what I want to make and go back and repeat some others. So
that's great. All right. So you know what I wanted to ask you next is, I know you said you actually lost weight on P3, but still, you might have had some fluctuations at the beginning or something. Did you have to do any correction days while you were on P3tolife?
I have not. The most that I've fluctuated would be probably 1.5 pounds. Cool. And so I didn't correct that. I just waited for the next day. But I've probably lost 1 pound. I wrote it down. I don't remember all of the fluctuations, but
I'd be curious to see that. Yeah.
I'd go up 1.5 pounds or down 1.5 pounds just as equally. So it was really just kind of hovering.
Yeah.
But consistently going further and further away from my LIW. So,
gotcha. So
I
you
didn't
would
worry
just keep
about it.
eating the P3tolife planned day
Right,
the next day, even if you
right,
had maybe a gain.
right. Yep,
Good.
yep. That
That's
didn't
good.
make me change anything. I just kept
Good.
going. Um,
And that's good for you
I
guys too to know because like especially in the first couple weeks of P3, it is normal to expect some fluctuation and that is why there is that range with your LAW because you know, even a little extra salt or you're dehydrated, didn't drink water, you're retaining water or whatever, you know what I mean? Like bulk in your intestines, like there's gonna be a little fluctuation and so that's not a time to panic. Like just like, oh, this is normal part of the process. You don't need to do anything different, you know,
yeah,
until like you're like, whoa, this gain happened and then now it's more and it's not going away. You know,
yeah,
so
yeah. I
great.
even had, if I gained, and this was even in week 4, I gained 0.6, but
Yeah.
the next day I lost 1.8.
Wow.
So it really varied, but I
Yes.
just kind of stayed the course, and it all evens out. It was all just, it's trying to stabilize, so
Right.
I just
Yeah.
followed the plan.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite recipes? I always like to ask people that.
Oh, I've loved them all, honestly, but I like gosh, I had to go through week to week and write them down because I
Oh,
really like them all. But
cool.
I know with Thanksgiving close by, I love as far as the smoothies, I love the pumpkin smoothie.
Nice.
Uh, I loved the deconstructed egg roll bowl. And, things I haven't cooked with before, like
Yeah.
that kind of cabbage. And it was just fun.
Cool.
It made me feel like such a gourmet.
Awesome. It's fun to
um,
find like new things that add variety to your life that
yep,
you really like, you know, that you didn't know about before maybe or that's
yep.
cool.
I loved all of the mug breads and the chia puddings.
Cool.
The spaghetti squash, my family and I eat. Usually we'll have that, but I liked this recipe with the meatballs. That was good.
Nice. Cool.
Um, Gosh, what else? The creamy chicken with mushrooms.
Oh,
And I
good.
had never experimented with all those different kinds of mushrooms either,
Oh,
which was,
nice.
yeah,
Good.
and we like mushrooms, so that was cool.
That's cool. I've even actually had people tell me who didn't like mushrooms that they liked that dish. They're like, I
Oh,
don't know
I
how this
believe it. Yeah,
happened,
I
but I
don't.
don't like mushrooms and I wasn't going to make that dish. And then I decided, like, okay, I'm just going to try it. And they're like, and I loved it. Like, well, how did
Yep.
that happen?
How's that happen?
That's
It's the
funny.
seasonings and the way it's cooked or something. And
Yeah.
I had eggplant a long time ago, and it's like, oh, I don't like eggplant.
Yeah.
And I almost considered changing, what else could I
Yes.
use, substitute. But I made it as it was written and fed it to my husband and daughter as well, and they all loved it too.
Good. That was
So
the
that
eggplant lasagna,
lasagna,
right? Okay,
yes.
good. I think
Eggplant
that was in like
lasagna.
week 4 or 5 or 6. I don't remember now. Good.
What week was that?
It was
Yeah.
in maintenance. It was definitely a phase like 4 because it had a little cheese, I think.
Oh, true. Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Um,
interesting. That's
Yeah, the great
great.
chicken bowl I've already
Okay,
repeated. That one's
cool.
really good.
Good.
That's week 3.
And that's an easy one too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
and the easy one, I think you said was one of your favorites, the peas and shrimp.
Oh, the chili lime shrimp. Yeah, with the snap peas.
Yes,
It's such a
yes.
fast one too.
It was fast, and you think of peas as being the high carb kind
Right,
of vegetable, and it
right.
was like, oh, I get to have these.
You're like, woohoo, yeah. I know, because it's a small amount and it has like the whole husk, like the snap peas, you know, like the whole. It's totally fine. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
curious on the smoothies. I always ask people this because there's a little bit of a learning curve to the smoothies sometimes. What blender do you use? And then how did it go like when you first started making them?
there was a learning curve. I
Yes.
had to learn to push it down and everything. I can look at that. It's right behind me. Do you want me to see what type that is?
Oh,
I
your
meant to
blender?
have that.
Yeah,
I
sure.
meant to have that.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, you guys, what we have in the program is they're dessert smoothies. So these are not smoothies for health. They're not drinkable smoothies. They're meant to be really thick like ice cream and like dessert. But there's a bit of a learning curve and I have actually a whole bunch of videos with tutorials to show you guys how to do them. Like, because if you don't do them right, then, they're not going to turn out right. But it's worth learning how to do it because they're so satisfying. But anyway, so you're back. Yeah.
They are, yeah. And mine is an Oster.
Okay.
Just a regular. It doesn't have that push
Doesn't have a tamper. Okay, yeah. So how
But I
did you
just
do
take a
that?
spatula, turn it off, take the
Gotcha.
spatula and
Okay.
push it down and blend it some more. And it's handled it really well.
That's
As far as
fantastic.
chopping, it's not little ice chunks. It gets really yummy,
Gets pretty
like ice
fine.
cream. Mhm.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So it can work, with various blenders. It is easiest if you have a tamper just because it's so thick, but as long as you take a few extra minutes, like you probably did, and scooch it down with the spatula, yeah, and
Mhm.
get it to be like spoonable, right? That's the point, spoonable.
I learned I
Cool.
had to be patient with that. Just keep working it. It's gonna, and then all of a sudden, boom,
Yeah.
okay, it's got it, and it would just, the volume
Awesome.
would just get really
It's
nice.
big, right? These are big, you
Yes.
guys, because there's a lot of ice cubes, but then because of the way we utilize like the spices or the cocoa or whatnot, like it's pretty yummy. I don't know if I do say
Oh,
so myself.
oh, yes, they are really yummy. You can say so.
I'm not trying to like
Peppermint
brag. I'm just,
chocolate.
you know,
When you
it's a way to
add,
have, yeah, it's just a way to have dessert
yeah,
without getting into trouble. Like
right,
you can have these anytime.
yeah, yeah. Late at night too. And it
Yes,
just,
you
my
can.
big thing was eating late at night, and I found that
Yes.
I can even snack on things like that or
Yeah.
the chocolate chia pudding. I
Good.
ate a double serving of that one night at
Really?
10:30 at night, and
Yeah.
didn't eat the next day.
That is awesome. And there's a good amount of fiber in that too, so that's
Uh-huh.
awesome.
So,
Aw. How about, was there anything with like, because there's a coaching section and different things like that in the program. Was there anything, was that useful to you or anything that stood out to you with that?
very useful, I think. I used it, like I signed up before I actually was ready to go on P3 to
Yeah.
Life. So I went through all those videos, just took my time going through each one, and I've gone a lot back to some of them just to listen again.
Yeah.
They were all very helpful.
Good, good.
Um,
Yeah, because I feel like there's just a mental aspect too to making decisions or just how we think about things that makes long-term maintenance, I think, easier. So,
yeah. And it is changing, committing to changing your lifestyle, the
right.
choices you make with your food, or just the little tricks like the small plates, or
Yeah,
um, gosh, all
cool.
those just tips that you
That's good.
give.
Cool.
It's things you kind of have to adapt to, and it's not that hard. Once you just start doing it, it's like now, why did I gain all that? Well, I know why I gained, because making those wrong choices. But so
Yeah,
you learn. It's a real learning process for sure.
good. That's good. Well, just like in closing then, I mean, the program is a bit of an investment for people. So from your perspective, now that you've, bought it and been through it, like, do you feel like it's worthwhile? Why so for someone else who's kind of on the fence? Like, what do you think what's the value in it for you?
Oh, just the support and the structure of it all, because I think you need that support going through something like this. And and it is an investment. Like when I went I'm going through the doctor's office, but I really wish I would have found you before that.
Yeah.
Because to order, and it's a little scary to think of ordering the medicine and not having, doctors right there,
Yeah.
giving yourself injections. But one, the injections aren't bad at all.
No.
And two, I just love that you've researched all the labs and the pharmacies where it comes from. And so if I ever had to do it again, I would definitely go that route, because
Yeah.
I feel more independent
You've
with
been
being
through it
able
now.
to do
Yeah. Gotcha.
that.
As far as the value of the P3tolife program for you versus like say, like you can go on Pinterest, for instance, right? And maybe use the list you got and try to find recipes. Like, what do you think the difference is between P3tolife and then trying to kind of maybe devise something yourself?
Oh, I would say it's just night and day, because like I tried to go, like I was given through my doctor's office, it was just these very simple pages and a list of food like P2 all over again.
Yeah.
And they have to figure all that out or go hunting for it on Pinterest or wherever for these recipes. And, I looked up ketogenic or all the other things you can do to make some fairly good choices. But this is so well laid out, and it was really easy to follow. and I knew that I was getting what I needed. You know, you add things in. It's not all the calories all again at once. It was
Right.
adding, you know, the yogurt gradually and the nuts gradually, and see what you're sensitive to or not.
Right.
So in that way, it's amazing.
Good.
Support to have that. You know what you're doing. You've done all this hard work on P2 and losing the weight. So to have something that, you know, you don't have to be scared you're going to gain it back again because it's so well laid out.
Cool.
And anyone, if I can do it, anybody can do it, because, you know, it's just setting your mind to saying, I'm going to follow this. It will work.
Yeah.
You know, and if you do follow it, it will work. So,
yeah,
you know,
good. That
just
really does
when
seem
we-
to be the experience of people. Like if you follow it, you don't have to worry. Like you're going
Right.
to stabilize out or possibly lose, as some lose. So
Right.
yeah.
Which has been a really big surprise that I keep losing, but I wanted a little more wiggle room under that 150 mark, so
Yeah.
it's like I'm more comfortable.
That's great.
I'm closer to where I wanted to be anyway at the end of P2, so I'm glad how it worked out that I
That's
lost
good.
it.
That's good. Was the clinic, were they at all surprised that, like, because you showed them, I think you said a few of the recipes you were going to maybe try, like, were they surprised that it ended up working, or I'm curious?
Well, I don't think they know that I really followed.
Gotcha. You're just like,
You know?
keep it on the down low. Yeah.
Yeah, but I had showed them, you know, one recipe, and I think she automatically looked at what it was, one with the nutritional yeast in it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, can't eat that, you know. And
Oh, funny.
so
Yeah.
it's like, and the carb amounts. It's like, no, I don't think you want to eat that many carbs.
Yeah.
And so it really shows you don't have to be scared of carbs either.
Yeah.
You know, I'm adding that stuff back in, and it hasn't affected me.
That's
So,
great.
I mean, that's me. Hopefully, everyone.
Yeah. No,
How's that?
that's been really pretty much across the board, the result. And I think really it's the sourcing is why.
Right.
I think for a lot of us, like myself included, I was really uneducated about like how many carbs are in low carb vegetables, for instance. So I think sometimes what ends up happening is we either like we know the carb amount by looking at like low carb nutrition bars, right? And they're like 2 net carbs or 5 net carbs. So, oh, okay, this is healthy. And then we're eating low carb, and if we're not counting, we might be having mushrooms and tomatoes and broccoli, and we're like, well, I'm eating low carb, but we haven't counted it. So we just don't really know the numbers. But then when you actually calculate it, it's like actually, like, you know, the net carbs are between, you know, 30 and 50 net per day when you have all these vegetables. And if you hear that number, you're like, oh, that's too many carbs, like, you know, but it's actually, from those vegetable sources, it's fine. It really works out well for people. So I think we just didn't know.
You've learned what you can actually have, what the numbers are.
Yeah.
And it's still, you know, you can make good choices. Like, oh, you don't have to say that's too many carbs.
Yeah, you don't have to panic anymore when you see a recipe and then at the end it says 15 net carbs for this meal. You don't have to be like, oh, I can never have that, you know?
Yeah.
So we covered so much today. Thank you, Heather. I really appreciate it. And I'm so happy for you as well, because to have lost, I mean, I think it's just such a good example for everyone else out there that you really, like, you started P2, you stuck to it as far as not cheating, whether you do it all at once or in separated rounds, just I think how committed you were and how it's really paid off. You've saved yourself so much pain, you know? And you
once I got started, was on a roll. I just really didn't want to have to start, even though or stop.
Yeah.
You know, I read a lot of, that's the norm, but it's like it just kept going. So that
it
worked
worked for you. Yeah, and you had someone monitoring your blood, your lab tests and stuff, and I'm sure, like you said, you felt pretty well. It sounds like health-wise.
Yeah.
So I think that's an indicator. Like I said, you guys, in the show notes, there's going to be a link talking about like how long to be on the hCG diet, and those are the factors to consider. It's like I show some people who have successfully done a long round. In fact, I'm going to probably include part of our interview in that post now, because it can work. But the thing is sometimes it's too much for your body, and you're going to know that if you start feeling run down, and that's the point where you need to be like wise about it and not keep going when you feel horrible, you know? You kept feeling good, so that's great. Yeah. It's Good.
Everything is great. So thank you for your support, all the materials and information. Couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that you've gotten so much use out of it. And yeah, and for the rest of you guys, again, if you want to find out more about the actual program, it's just at P3tolife.com. So all the details are there. So yeah, thank you so much, Heather, and hope you have a good evening. So
Thanks.
yeah.
Good talking to you.
You too. We forgot one more thing. You have your old pants.
I do.
Show us our old pants. Your old pants.
I've had to go through a few different work pants. So these I think were my biggest. I don't know if you can see
So those are like in size 18 or something?
These are 18, yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
And
You're so tiny.
These are my 4s and they're loose.
They're 4s and they're loose. Wow.
I've never worn 4s in my life, so.
Oh, in your whole life?
No.
Wow.
I mean,
So that
when
was
I
like when you were 10. Yeah, that doesn't count.
I don't remember ever wearing 4s.
Yeah, only adulthood on counts.
You're right.
So,
No,
wow. So actually, earlier when I was asking you, like, how long has it been since you've been like this size? Like this, actually, you've never really been this size.
No, I really haven't. It was always like 7 to 9. That was really thin.
Yeah.
In junior sizes, you know, so 8s, 10s, but never 4s and 6s.
Wow, that's crazy.